Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of I Like Trains. Today we are here with another unboxing and it is from the Hornby Railroad 00 gauge collection and it is none other than Percy the Blue Engine himself. Wait, Percy the Blue Engine? What? Has someone written this down wrong? It's clearly... Yeah, anyway, we'll get into that as the video goes along. But before we get into that, please consider maybe giving it a like, comment down below, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you never miss a video going forward. But other than that, let's get into the video. Enjoy everyone. So yeah, as you can see there, that is clearly Percy, figuratively speaking. It is the old Percy mould that Hornby did use for the Thomas and Friends range back when they used to hold the licence in. But of course, obviously, they have repurposed this for the Railroad collection. Now, first things first that strikes me is obviously he is blue. So do we now call him Percy the Blue Engine? No, because there is no face. This is really not Percy at all. But other than having no face, there really doesn't seem to be any much difference other than the fact that we now know him as T. Brown for T. Brown Distilleries. Now, I did my research. I can't find anything about T. Brown Distilleries anywhere online. So either it is a very, very, very obscure distilleries out there somewhere in the UK, or Hornby have just made it up, and I think it is the latter. But overall, it does look quite a nice little line in here in terms of red line and everything. I think the font actually looks quite nice. Obviously, number 6 has been replaced with number 3. So, do we now call him Henry? I'll leave it up to you guys. But yeah, overall, I think it looks quite a nice little model. I'll just show you the side, just so there you can see there. So we've got R30038 Industrial 040 Locomotive T. Brown Distilleries. Now, yes, £50. I am a bit of a mug. Clearly the shop saw me coming, but I think really sort of what drew me to the fact of this model was purely for the fact that they did use the old Percy mould, and I thought, that is quite interesting. It's not an 040 locomotive that we've ever seen before. It's not a tank engine we've ever seen before. So I thought, do you know what? I kind of want to see what this is like, even if it is from the Railroad collection. But then again, the controversy with this is purely for the fact it is £50. I know originally it came out as £45 and it's now £50. And I think it's meant to be the Railroad collection. It's meant to be cheap. It's meant to be a step into the hobby. Not meant to be as refined as Hornby's normal main range. And yet £50 for a tank engine. Wow. But I want to give this a fair shot. So I think what we need to do is get this out of the box and then of course obviously go in for a closer look. So yeah, we're going to get this out of the box. Obviously go in for a closer look and see what we're dealing with here. £50. I know what you're all saying. They saw you coming. They did. Of course you obviously just get the usual guff here on the pamphlet. So 040 locomotive, HP motor. Seems to be some awful stain there for some reason. Ooh, that's not nice. DCC ready, so that's always handy. Most locomotives from Hornby are these days, so that's pretty decent. So yeah, I think we'll just get the tape undone here carefully. There we go. And then of course we'll just try and pry him out without trying to do any damage. There it is. Move that to one side. Hornby's 040 locomotive, Percy the Blue Engine, T. Brown Distilleries. So there is the T. Brown Distilleries tank engine down on the track. Now, first things first, what I do want to point out is the top of the cab here. Now, as you can see, the top of the cab has got some scuff in there. Now, from my research, this was actually an issue with the old Percy mould, and they still haven't had time to fix this, and of course they have just repurposed the whole mould for this new railroad series. And yeah, unfortunately it does show, which is quite annoying in the sense of, you know, you're paying £50 for this locomotive and there is still damage there. And the same could be said for this separately fitted panel over the boiler, which does not fit properly. And of course you can actually still see the line in there, and you can see it's actually a separately fitted piece, which really does irritate me. Really is annoying, I'm not going to lie. But I think the lining overall looks quite nice. I think the font is really well nicely done, and of course the number 3 there again as well, sort of almost that double colour sort of 3D font. That's actually quite nice. Yeah, the cab being scuffed though is really quite annoying, I'm not going to lie. But it is what it is. I think obviously the dome looks quite nice. It's been painted quite nicely. The axles and the wheels are very nicely painted, for the fact that they've painted a really nice blue colour, which I actually think is really quite nice. And a really weird thing about this locomotive is that the safety valves up here are actually separately fitted pieces. And they kind of stand out a little bit over the locomotive, because you do sort of look at it and think, well, it's quite basic. But then you look at the safety valves and you think, well, actually they're quite finely detailed, and they're separately fitted, which is quite a nice surprise. So that's quite nice. And like I said, I think the livery overall is actually really quite nice, even if it is a fictional livery. You know, T Brown Distilleries, I actually quite like it. And what I actually do quite like about this, in the sense of, you realistically, and especially I see a lot of YouTubers, a lot of Thomas modelers, a lot of people who do sort of their own Thomas backstory, their own Thomas stories. Realistically, this is sort of giving you the option, in the sense of, you know, this could potentially be a little backstory to Percy. So before he came to the island of Sodor, because obviously other than that episode in season 1, where obviously you do see the Factory just go and purchase him, we don't really know a lot about Percy's backstory. So this actually maybe this is what Hornby are thinking. I highly doubt it, but it could be Percy's backstory. Maybe he's getting ready for scrap. He's then got repainted, he's been kidnapped, something like that. He's got into green, and this was his life beforehand. I actually think that the possibilities are endless. I actually think it's quite a nice touch. And I can see maybe a few people doing a few stories on this. If not, and they haven't, I have patented it. See, obviously, if we pay attention to the front here, you can see obviously the smoke box door, which does actually look to be quite nice. Now, I did a bit of research on this, and this actually does seem to be new tooling. Not a lot of people can seem to pinpoint where this smoke box door has actually come from. So I do give kudos to Hornby for that, for the fact that they've actually done a new tooling for the smoke box door. But at the end of the day, I suppose they might have actually had to, purely for the fact that if you remove the face, you've got nothing to put there. You've got to put something there. And if you put the face on it, it's Percy. So yeah, I sort of understand why they've done that. And obviously the smoke box door there actually looks quite nice. There's a few finer little details you can see there. I think the buffers have quite a nice gloss finish to them, actually, to be fair. And it looks like there's actually a couple of holes there that you can actually get a few separately fitted pieces there for, but unfortunately the pack never came to it. Which, annoying again as well, railroad, you would think, yeah, okay, it's railroad, you're not going to get a pack of separately fitted pieces, but at the same time you think, pay 45-50 quid for this. And of course, the last thing I wanted to mention on this locomotive was, again, obviously you've got the nice gloss there on the buffers on the back, and the coal guards around here I actually think look quite nice. They're quite nicely detailed, considering it's a railroad locomotive range. And the coal itself, yes, fair enough, a lot of people could say it looks a bit cartoonish, but I actually think it fits the locomotive quite nicely. And I think the takeaway from all of this is the fact it's just nice to see that the Percy mould, let alone the whole Thomas and Friends range from Hornby, the moulds have not been forgotten, and I actually think the possibilities are endless with this, and I really would implore Hornby to actually maybe go back and maybe use a few of their older moulds for some of the other Thomas and Friends characters, especially maybe the likes of Edward and James. I would really like to see what they could come up with, even if they are fictitious in terms of obviously not proper liveries and they're not based on anything in real life. I actually think it is a really nice idea. Maybe a little bit cheaper, but it is a really nice idea for them to maybe go back and think, do you know what, it's a nice idea to get people into the range, maybe for new modelers who maybe just don't want to base anything off of a real railway, a real setup or anything, and just want to actually just collect model trains because they like trains. I actually think it's a really, really good idea, so I applaud Hornby for that. But I think other than that, what we need to do, we need to get it down on the track, we need to see how it performs, so let's join me over on the railway. So there is the T Brown Distilleries 040 locomotive down on the track, aka PERCY the blue engine. So yeah, I think there's nothing other to do other than let's just get it started and obviously see how the performance is like. I think what we're going to do is we're going to obviously see what the crawl is like. So I'm just going to switch it on and actually see if the locomotive works and just give it the tiniest little bit of power. Ooh, quite a bit of a jolty starter there, isn't it? Let me just reverse. See if the reverse is any better. But the locomotive works. That is really good. That's exactly what anyone would want. But obviously I want to just see if I can just give it just a tiniest bit of power. To actually see if there's any sort of crawl there at all. There's really not. Maybe a slightly tiniest little bit of crawl there at the end, but other than that, that's as much as you're getting, unfortunately. Well, that is a shame. But we tried. So yeah, crawl power wise, really not much at all. But while we're at it, actually, I thought I would just obviously show you just the quick station setup, obviously, that we've got here now. So obviously this is the cheeky engine layout going forward. So you can see the little station platform there, obviously the little post box, a few little signs there, vintage signs. Yeah, looks quite nice. But yeah, what I think we need to do, obviously we need to get the T Brown Distilleries coupled up onto its train, and let's see what it's going to be pulling. Hopefully it's coupled up nicely. So yeah, there's the T Brown Distilleries with its train of wagons it's going to be pulling. So it's going to be pulling the McVitie's Baker Besser Biscuit wagon. It's going to be pulling the Trimite wagon, the Bird's Eye wagon, the Kellogg's wagon, and the Prime Pork wagon. 5 wagons in total. I really don't see an issue with this pulling it, but obviously we want to test the pulling power. So obviously we're just going to set a little bit of juice and obviously see how it handles the 5 wagons. Seems to be handling perfectly fine. Put out to full power. No problem at all. You know what, I have to say, for all my gripes with this, it's a really, really, really nice runner. And I have to say as well, I think in terms of paintwork, I think they've really done a nice job here, Hornby. I think the livery is really nice, and I think the backstory is really nice. The fact, like I say, it's keeping the Thomas and Friends range alive in terms of the moulds that they previously had the licensing for. And yeah, I think obviously the possibilities are endless in terms of obviously stories you could come up with this. And actually, the more it sort of runs, I think it's actually a really good runner. Yes, the crawl's not fantastic. Yes, there are issues with it cosmetically. Yes, the moulding isn't very good and it is slightly maybe outdated. But I still like it. I can't put my finger on why I like it. Maybe it's because I'm a secret Thomas fan, even though it's not a secret, everyone knows. Or just, I don't know what it is. I can't criticise this as much as I want to. I actually think it's a really nice runner. I really, really, really actually applaud people getting this if you can get it for the right price. I don't applaud £50, £45. Really don't applaud that at all. I think the price range is completely out. But in terms of the actual locomotive itself, I really, really like it. So yeah, that has been my review of the T Brown Distilleries overall locomotive from the Railroad series from Hornby. I really hope you've liked that video. If you had, please maybe consider like, comment down below, subscribing, hit that bell for notifications, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Thanks guys.